The two character traits that sets an INTJ apart from other Myers-Briggs type is the combination of intelligence and confidence, and in that order. As with anything in life, it's a double-edged sword, because if you show too much intelligence in a situation that doesn't require you to be intelligent, you might come off as condescending. And if you show too much confidence, you might come off as arrogant. These two words can be interpreted in many different ways based off of the situation, so I'd like to provide the scenario in which I'm basing my claim. This video will show how a healthy INTJ is perceived throughout every aspect of our life, from work all the way to relationships. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. It's free for you, and it'll let me know to continue making videos. An INTJ can display different personality traits based off of the system that they're in. Based off my previous video about INTJ and authenticity, it's extremely difficult to tell an INTJ from other Myers-Briggs type because we have so many different personas for so many different systems. And I'll link the video below if you're curious. So you can't really type an INTJ by viewing how we act or having a shallow conversation with us, because in that system, our persona might be a happy-go-lucky, outwardly sociable person. Complete opposite of the INTJ you read about, I know. And again, it's still authentically us, just very exaggerated. The only true way to tell an INTJ apart from other types by conversing with them is to talk about the right topics. You have to engage an INTJ and bring out Papa introverted intuition. Once you hear Papa introverted intuition, it'll all become clear.
But John, aren't there other types with NI as their top two stacks?
Correct. And I'll explain in depth how to tell the difference between all those types. Intelligence in this video is how quick you are to understand something. Your ability to truly understand a topic that's brought out of the blue and come up with a solution that might seem optimal. Also the ability to ingest tons of information and to break down actionable steps as if you were the person who brought up the topic and have already done your research. You don't necessarily have to sound like an expert, you just have to sound like you can follow along. The ability to sound intelligent without sounding condescending is the magnetic part of being an INTJ, and it's typically why people with extroverted intuition and the top two stacks love talking to us. And intelligence can be displayed in so many different ways, not just breaking down the topic that's brought up. Myself personally, I don't know if you guys have the impression yet, but I like to joke around a lot. It's actually my ability to come up with jokes on the spot about the topic that makes me sound intelligent, because the joke focuses on what we're talking about right now, and I also throw in a little bit of logical conclusion, a few steps ahead. And because of that, intelligence is truly the first thing that people notice about us that shines above other people. So you may already have a reputation of being a go-getter, an overachiever, but after a person has that conversation with you, they still believe you're a go-getter, but the thing that stands out the most is your intelligence. You might encounter situations where after the conversation ends, someone believes that what you're thinking is stupid, but they won't think that you're stupid. It's extremely difficult to be called an idiot if you're talking out of introverted intuition. And the reason is common sense for you. You're always a few steps ahead in the conversation. You're always talking about something that could potentially happen if you logically follow the guideline that has been laid out. And the people that brought up the topic in the first place understand that you're following along. And this is also the easiest way for an INTJ to tell if someone's full of shit. We can easily tell whether someone understands the topic if they're able to follow along with our logical conclusions. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. But they have to prove to us that we're wrong, because based off the information given to us, this is most likely what's going to happen. So our most common sense is to be able to detect whether someone's using NI correctly or incorrectly, because it's so easy to spot gaps and logical fallacies, and it's very refreshing to talk to someone who is high in NI that's able to help us fill in the gap. Shout out to the INFJs, love you guys. Now let's go back to talk about confidence. Confidence in this scenario doesn't mean the ability to control a room or to control the social dynamic. It's the assuredness of your intelligence. And this is how you can tell the difference between an INTJ and our sister type, the ENTJ. We're so similar in the way that we operate, we're so similar in the way that we present ourselves. Even as an INTJ, I have a difficult time typing whether someone's an INTJ or whether they're an ENTJ. So for this portion of the video, I'm going to provide a comparison between the INTJ and the ENTJ. It's extremely difficult to tell the two of us apart. And personally, I was never sure whether I was truly an INTJ or an ENTJ until I started actually paying attention to cognitive functions. Then it became clear as day. I always knew that my ENTJ friends and I are very similar, but also a little different. And now I know. And the easiest way that I can express the difference is this. You guys be doing too much shit too often. I'm an INTJ. Whenever I see you guys do that, I'm just like, no, I'm gonna chill. You guys can go accomplish all your tasks. I'm gonna chill and do it later. So an INTJ typically doesn't make a decision until we're confident in our answers. And confident in this regard means that we have all the necessary information to make a good judgment call. And this decision typically happens instantaneously, and it's a very subconscious thing. Sometimes we don't know why we believe we have all the information. Sometimes we know why we have all the information. Most of the time it's instant, and most of the time we just go with our gut feeling. Papa NI. The judgment call that an INTJ make doesn't have to be perfect. However, it can't cause unnecessary issues along the way. So we need enough information for us to make a judgment call where if there's an issue that could be preventable, let's think of it now and let's get it out of the way now. And the more you mature, the more you realize that you have to allow buffer room. And buffer room in regards to this video is the unknown, the unforeseen. You can make the perfect plan, but the perfect plan doesn't exist because there's so many different externalities that might come into play, so many factors that might change the course of whatever the plan is. A good INTJ actually factors in those unknowns. So the key difference in approach between the INTJ and ENTJ are as follows. The INTJ takes all the information first to make a good judgment call as to whether we're first capable of doing it or have the ability to solve the problem. And then we make our decision. And ENTJ trusts their ability to power through anything and then decide whether they have the correct information or not. So they both sound the same because they arrive at the same conclusion, but the order of operation is just different. INTJs are a type that measures twice and cut once. ENTJs, on the other hand, cuts and then adjusts if needed. And as a person grows and develops their cognitive functions even further, it becomes even more natural for an INTJ or an ENTJ to be able to flop those two different ways of approaching an issue, which makes it even more difficult to type us. INTJs are very aware of our limitations. What we're extremely confident in is our ability to find a solution. The way that this comes off to other people is by us asking a lot of questions. And you're an INTJ, you're gonna ask questions. All you do is ask questions. We ask millions and millions of questions, again, because we need the information, because if the issue has a roadblock that is preventable now, let's get that shit out of the way. And most of the decisions goes back to just time management because we're just so low on energy. Confidence can be displayed in many different ways. But for NTJs, it usually comes off as past experience or past accomplishments. That's where mama extrovert thinking comes in. I'm sure we all met someone in our life that's very confident in their ability to accomplish something, but has a tendency of failing whatever that they're confident about. And it's okay to fail, guys. It's okay to fail as long as you learn. Pretty much instead of saying, oh, I believe in my abilities just because, it's more along the lines of, I believe in my ability because I know X, Y, and Z, and I've already accomplished A, B, and C that relates to whatever we're working on. And one of the key things to note in that last sentence is the accomplishments, because you could be an expert in using a program like Excel, but you might not be able to use that program to accomplish the task that's given to you. And this is where confidence based off historical performance comes in. This is where you differ from other types. This is how you differ from the example provided earlier of a person that's extremely confident but continues to fail. And as an INTJ, you should have a list of accomplishments that you can pull up whenever you need it in order to support your claim that you are confident in your ability to do whatever task that's at hand. The use of extrovert thinking is how we differ from our sister NI types, the ENFJs and the INFJs. And as with anything, I do want to make sure that we're clear that any type can use any function in order to accomplish whatever task. I'm talking about our default tendencies. So it's who you are if you were to talk candidly instead of who you are in order to accomplish certain tasks. An INTJ differs from an ENTJ by the order of operation in which we display intelligence and confidence. And an INTJ differs from an INFJ and ENFJ is how we display confidence. And here's a quick background information about the NFJs. Both the ENFJ and INFJ has introverted intuition as their first or secondary slot. But what they also have is extroverted feeling. And extroverted feeling is defined as a function that focuses on shared value, the greater good, and emotional dynamics. So confidence can technically be used in this comparison, but it's not the same way that the INTJ and ENTJ shows confidence, because we show it based off of extroverted thinking, whereas the NFJs show it with extroverted feeling. So the NTJs makes people believe them by using external examples that can't be argued with, whereas the NFJs makes people believe them by creating an emotional connection. So the key difference there is logic and facts versus logic and feelings. Now that we define intelligence and confidence and we compare and contrast with our sister types, how does an INTJ use intelligence and confidence, and how is it attractive? If done correctly, intelligence is magnetic and confidence is comforting. In regards to relationship building, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic, your intelligence is going to shine far brighter than anything else. And when you put yourself in social situations, people are going to listen. Because again, I keep saying this in every one of our videos, introverted intuition is very Interesting. But let's also address the elephant in the room. You also have to understand social cues and then when to talk about it. Again, if you just talk very intelligently, then you sound very condescending and sound like an ass. So you meet someone off the bat, you can't just go into NI mode. You can't talk about abstract theory. That's where small talk comes in. It helps build comfort. And being social, it's a dance. I call it a waltz because everyone has to learn it. And when I imagine an INTJ in the wild, I imagine an anglerfish. An anglerfish is the fish with a light bulb on top. That light bulb is an INTJ using NI.
But John, I put myself out there all the time and no one wants to listen.
This is Uncle John telling you straight up, if you talk and no one wants to listen to you, that's a you problem, not a them problem. And the reason why I say that is because I've been there. I've been that person that has talked and no one wanted to listen. The beauty about the issue is that it's fixable. Once you learn the social waltz, you're able to talk however you want and people will listen. An easy analogy is using a comedian. And I'm thinking Dave Chappelle because he was on the news earlier bringing Elon Musk on stage or something. A comedian doesn't open up their act with the punchline to their joke. A comedian builds comfort first and then reels a person in and eventually throws the punchline. That's essentially what a normal conversation is. You have to build comfort first and then throw your punchline in. So if you start off with the punchline of your joke, it's not going to be funny. It's not going to be received the same way as if you built comfort first and then give the punchline whenever it's the right situation to do it. And with technology the way it is right now, you can learn it through YouTube, you could go to Toastmaster classes, and then once you learn it, put yourself out there. It's embarrassing to say this, but I'm very proud of myself. When I was in middle school, I actually used Google Scholars in order to learn how to make friends. I would read scholarly articles on how friendship is made, how comfort is built, and how relationships begin and end. And then once I read it, I internalized it, and when I was with people that I knew that were my age, I put it to the test. A lot of it is very subconscious, but still, I had to learn it somewhere in order for me to engage it somewhere. The difficult part isn't the learning, because you're an INTJ, you love learning. It's the actual putting yourself out there, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck horribly. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's an easy process. No, it is not an easy process. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to be in situations where you're just like, wow, can life get any worse than this? I spent hundreds of hours researching how to make friends and how to be acceptable in social situations. And I've spent even more hours, thousands of hours, actually testing out how to properly engage society. I've been to the bar alone. I was that weird person in a certain situation. I've been told I'm weird to my face. And I've approached hundreds of random people on the streets, just asking them something as simple as, hey, what time is it? Just so I could break that social anxiety that I have because I wanted to dance with everyone else in the world. It takes a lot of work, but if you really want to, you can do it. In conclusion to this video, INTJs are magnetic due to our intelligence, and we're comforting based off of our confidence. And that's why intelligence and confidence are the two personality traits that sets INTJs apart from every other type out there. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye. You guys can tell right now, but I am actually on my third day of a cold and my nose is stuffy. So I know I slur a lot in my videos, but I feel like I've been slurring like extra in this video. I hope this video makes sense. I've been taking Dayquil and NyQuil on a daily, so I'm a little groggy right now. And my Adderall doesn't really work anymore. I don't know if I told you guys, but I am prescribed Adderall and I do take it on a daily. I hope I made sense this video.